Welcome back to the Infinite Rabbit Hole Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy, and today we're going to dive into part 2 of our interview with Carter Buschardt. So get ready. You're going to join me, my old co-hosts Jacob and Carter. We're going to dive into more of the Bigfoot woo. Enjoy, everyone. I want to talk about another one real quick. This one, you actually start the book off with it. So it's chapter 1, Bob, Carolyn, and Ted. Now, this one was wild.
Is this in the last book?
Yeah, this is in the newest one. Evidence of Enigma 3. I'll go ahead and tell you what I have written down as your summary here. Bob had a vision of a dream being in space and viewing the Earth, moon, and ring planets through. Yeah, you already know where I'm going with that, right?
Yeah. We've become friends. Yeah. And here's something. I get visions once a month, maybe twice a month. I will be shown this gully, this long, deep ravine. And it could either be one of two places. It could be the place in Illinois. I led an expedition for BFRO in 2019 in Murfreesboro. And the place that I use here in Missouri, in Eminence, Missouri, is another research area. They both look identical, but I am shown, I'm going down this ravine really slow, but the landscape is going by much, much, much faster than I'm going. It's just, but I think it's their concept of time. Their time and space logic is far different from ours. So, but it matches with Ted, who was shown a triangle, and that's in the book. I think I got the drawing in here.
Yes, you do. The first chapter, not your introduction. The next one after that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is we're down to being only audio podcast now, Carter. Unfortunately. Okay. But if you want to send me a picture of it, I can post it with the posting of this episode.
Okay, I'll have to try to find it while we're. But anyway, so
no rush.
But he contacted me from a podcast, and he lives out near Monkey Mountain, where I've taken a couple of these prints in Missouri, and he was telling me, and it's a triangle with 3 planets: the Earth, the Moon, and probably Saturn. It's a planet with rings around it, and then there's stars. And he is just shown, and he's kind of moving through this. He's moving, and it's moving at him. And he's been shown this, I think, just twice. And figures somebody is trying to communicate with him. Then, all of a sudden, they were getting glyphs left on the ground, glyphs, which are, made with branches and twigs to delineate, shapes, the glyphs. Yep. And so they started showing up on the side of the house where all their bedrooms are. Him and his wife and their son. They have one boy, and so they're all showing up on this one side of the house on the ground. Bones driven into the ground, and just bizarre stuff. The one that's my favorite that they've shared is that he and his wife, they both work from home, so they have the option of just kind of hanging around the house, and they have lunch together and go stand out on the deck. One afternoon, they were standing on the deck. She's at the edge of the deck, and he's back kind of toward the house. He had just come outside from getting some food, and they see this shimmering predator. I mean, it's the shimmering, glowing, gelatinous mass, but it's a humanoid shape, and it's walking across the yard. And she's going, "Do you see that?" And he's looking, and he sees it from a different angle, goes, "Yeah, what the heck?" Huh. And they see it. It's about 5 seconds, and I've been to their house several times, and it walks from underneath the deck or from around the side of the house. They couldn't tell, but it looked like it came from underneath the deck. They walked across the yard, past this pile of wood, and then into some woods.
That's wild.
3 seconds. They both are seeing it.
Yeah.
And she's like straight-laced.
Yeah.
I mean, she has come to embrace all this, but at first she was like, I don't know what the heck, but I don't like this. I don't know what any of this is. But now she's embracing it because they've heard calls. They've got handprints with the big waxy, the waxy film on the handprints. That stuff's called alba vernix, by the way.
Yeah.
It's I think it's Latin for sticky shit. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut there. But anyway.
No, you're good.
But so it's like she knows it's happening, and she's a very realistic, down-to-earth person, and I've sat there and talked to her, and she's like, I mean, I want to believe, but I just, the way I was brought up and everything, I can't seem to grasp that could really be happening. They have orbs coming in and out of a pet door and jacking with their cats. I've got some videos of that. Just odd stuff, structures, calls, whoops, voices. They've heard gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with that? And this guy is a former government worker. He's by the book, rational. He's a no BS guy. He's not a BSer. He doesn't want any attention. None of them do. I'll keep saying that just to make sure everybody knows that these people aren't quacks and nuts. They don't want anything. They just, what is going on? And so it's crazy, but he's showing this, he's seeing this, and he's never experienced anything like this in his life. His life's been pretty routine and dull, but when he's all of a sudden experiencing floating through space and this giant triangle's coming at him and showing him these 3 planets, you go, they're trying to talk to you. I don't know what they're saying, but they're trying to communicate to you. They're trying to, and then all these other, things, the glyphs and the bones being driven into the ground, something drops bones off and they have glyphs left. I mean, they're really some ornate stuff. And so it keeps coming at me. It's real people, and I'm so privileged to have, I'm so privileged to have this stuff keep coming at me, and they're sharing it with me. And, he sent me about 2-3 weeks ago, he sent me another photo of an orb. It's a video, comes through this doggy door and zips around the cats, and the cats are all doing this, where they're trying to eat. It's at night, it's late at night, and they're not even awake. They just catch it on the camera in the morning. So, and the cats are like, they see it, and it's kind of zipping around and messing with them. So, I mean, what do you do with that? What am I to do with that? What are you to do with it when you hear it or see it? I mean, as somebody on the outside looking in, well, you've had experience, so you know what I'm talking about. And this is real stuff happening to real people. It's just, I'm just constantly, I'm constantly flattered that they're sharing it with me, and I'm having my own stuff. I mean, it's not like, I'm just, I'm having my own events, with, I told you the one about me seeing my car somewhere where it wasn't.
Yes. Well, so.
This episode is brought to you by Jira. Jira is the only project management tool you need to plan and track work across any team. So if you're a team of developers, Jira better connects you with teams like marketing and design, so you have all the information you need in one place. Plus, their AI helps you knock out the small stuff so you can focus on delivering your best work. Get started on your next big idea today in Jira.
Okay, let's see how my memory is here, Carter. You and your wife were out investigating, because she was some sort of a skeptic.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I'm glad you have, because she sees all my evidence and photos. People see me. I've got stuff spread all over the desk, and she's, well, I'm glad you got a little something. She was being playful, kind of kidding me. I'm glad you got a hobby. I said, don't you patronize me. I tell you what, I'm going to take you to my researcher. I'm going to show you. And that's what I did. I took her,
Well, you took her out, and you had seen your car some distance ahead of you, and she did not. She told you, no, our car's back over there. And you both looked back. She saw the car, but you didn't. And then you were like, no, what are you looking at? Our car is down there. Something somehow it ended up down there. And she's like, no, it's right there. And you guys both see in the car at two different directions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that correct?
That's basically it. Yeah. It's so, this ravine that is my research area. I'll preface it by saying this area, I can have something happen probably 90% of the time when I go out there. They know me. They're used to me. When you get out there, you get that sense of something watching you, the hair in the back of your neck sticking up. You're in their living room. You know they're there. And she had never experienced that. She was going, I've had enough. I believe you. Let's leave. I was there like 2 minutes. Okay, I'm done. Okay, let's go. I said, no. We're just going to go down to the bottom. It's about a 100-yard walk right down to the bottom of the ravine, because at the bottom of the ravine and around the curve is where I saw that one disappear when I was leading an expedition on my thermal camera about 4 or 5 years before that. And so that became my research area, and that's why I wanted to take her there. And so there's a big metal gate. You cannot drive down this ravine. It's way too narrow for a car. I had an SUV, a silver SUV. And so I parked the car there, and we were walking down. And every 2 or 3, 4 steps, I'm going back. I'm going back to the car. Said, well, no, you're not, because I got the keys in my pocket. You're not going back. The experience isn't taken. Nothing's going to happen. And she's flipping. Look, the car's just right up there. I shine the light, and my car's gone. I'm going, where's my car go? She goes, what do you mean? I'm looking right at it. You're shining the light on it. Your car's sitting right there. I said, no, it's gone. Where is it? And I just as a reflex, I shined it down to where we were going, and there's my car at the bottom of the ravine. It's impossible. There's no way. And she goes, what are you looking at? Your car's not there. There's nothing there. It's just woods. No, look at my car. How to get down there? She's going, what the heck is wrong with you? I shine it back up there where it was. And I say, it's gone. Look. She goes, no, it's right there. I'm looking right at it. And so I go back and forth about 4 or 5 times. She's going, what's wrong with you? There's something wrong with you. I know you guys are jacking with me. I knew exactly, not right away, but I knew that the Sasquatch, I was taking her to show her, and they showed me. It was like, shove it up your butt, Big Daddy, because this is what we can do. You want to go show her? So this was an assumption on my part, but it sure fits the narrative because, and after about 4 or 5 times, I shine my light back up where the car was, and there it was. And that's when I realized they were messing with me. They were implanting a vision in my head of my car being down at the other end of this ravine, which is totally impossible.
And you have a term for that. It's being zapped, right?
Yeah, zapped.
Yeah. I got my Carter dictionary here.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, but it's either infrasound or some kind of mental telepathy. Infrasound is a tone. It's above and below the human range of hearing. Yep. Lions, tigers, some gorillas, dolphins, whales, elephants, a lot of animals use it to communicate.
Actually, infra is low, ultra is high. So ultrasound high, infra low.
Yeah. So it's above and below the range of human hearing. So, but they use it in Europe a lot to quell riots because they're sound cannons, and they'll bombard these crowds with sound, and it just tears your guts up. It really hurts, And you can be made to hallucinate.
You can also be made to shit your pants.
Yeah.
The brown note.
I haven't done that yet, but in the name of science, I'll be glad to take one for the team. If I got to pinch one off in the woods just to make a fool of myself, if that's the cause, let's do it. Anything for the team. But it was it's just. Well, that is funny.
That is funny. Could you imagine getting zapped by by a Sasquatch with the brown note.
Crap your pants.
Yeah.
Did you just shit yourself? It was a Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot did it to me. Believe me, please.
Human, you need to chew your corn. But it's just either telepathy or infrasound where I was made to see something. And that's how they, a lot of times people would describe seeing deer running amok in an open field, or they're just running around crazy like they don't know where they're going. They've been zapped with infrasound. They get confused and they don't know where to run. And so they just start running amok, and they end up running into the arms of a waiting Sasquatch. They bust their legs, break the neck, and they got a meal.
And that's something that even the flesh and blood community has trouble defining, that it seems that the woo community can define just fine, as you just did, right? There is this weird sensation that a lot of people report, and actually this is actually part of my story as well, where the Sasquatch just have this ability to sneak up on a freaking deer and kill it, like it's nothing, or that the deer start acting erratic and they start running right towards a single or a group of Sasquatch, and its life is ended that way. Yeah. It is extremely weird, and infrasound would definitely answer some of that, because that is something that has been proven on human subjects that it does cause confusion. That's cool.
Yeah, and so and I did a show with Russ Jones and Brad Keenan, and they're pretty much apers. Yeah. Although they do believe in ghosts. But that's their mindset, and part of it is he's a doctor, so he has a scientific upbringing or education, and so science, that Sasquatch doesn't exist. So anything esoteric, it has to be provable and repeatedly provable when things happen. And they can't do it with Sasquatch, not yet.
Well, part of science is also disproving, and I think that's a lot of what people need to understand is like, okay, well, can you disprove my theories? That's the interesting. I mean, you can disprove to me that the sky is green, right? If I say it's green and you're looking up and you're like, no, it's definitely blue, dude. Let me go ask a couple people, have them look up there, and we'll see who wins this poll. But that's kind of one way to prove your point. And I think that's where the scientific community kind of gets mixed up a little bit, is because they're so set on proving the existence instead of disproving the existence, right? So how can you disprove the existence? And I'm sorry, I kind of went off on a little side.
No, I get what you're saying. No, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. There's no consensus. Right. I take it to the point where science gets most of their grant money from the government. The government doesn't want us to know. So you take our money, you say there's a Sasquatch, the checks are going to stop coming in.
That might be enough to sway somebody. Let's be honest. You start messing with people's paychecks.
Yeah, and your pension. And your reputation in academia, So, but it's crazy. So, but when that happens, you have to. I'm realistic, but I'm also going. I saw that. I experienced this, whatever it is. That's my reality. You can't take it away from me. You can scoff at it and you can try to convince me, but I saw that. When I saw that one disappear on my thermal, I'm watching for some lost hikers that were on our expedition, and it was like a flashbulb. It just poof, it vanished. And I went, like, from that moment on, I went to the dark side, like I said earlier. I when I was with a bunch of apers, that's all they believe was they're just dumb apes. There ain't no dumb ape that can do some of the things that people are describing. It's just flat out, they're not just dumb apes. I'd love to be able to prove it, but other than these incredible tales, I have nothing except my personal experience. And my wife was there the one time. She's going, she is still, when I bring it up, she's like going, that was the weirdest thing I have ever seen. And she's seen ghosts. She's a sensitive. I mean, she is sensitive to certain things, and she's seen things. She sees and senses things before I do. So that's, that was her way of convincing herself. I said, well, I can't believe in this and deny that. And her getting the heebie-jeebies, she's gotten those when she's been in the presence of spirits. So she couldn't deny it. She just flat out couldn't. And she saw me, and I was sincere. I was totally baffled for about 5 minutes. I was just like, how did I used some very colorful language. I was just like, how did my car, that just no blankety blank way. What the, and it's just hilarious. We're at 11 o'clock in the woods in the middle of nowhere. And she's, you can sense they're there, and she knows they're there. She knows there's something else foreboding for her. And I said, well, they're not going to hurt you. This is just the vibe that they have, because they want you to know that they're here and don't come any closer. Our family's over here. But yeah, it's just, what do you do with that? When you run into that, what do you do with it? You can't just go, oh, that's a bunch of crap. You can't say that. I mean, you can, but I'm experiencing this stuff, and so are my witnesses, so are my habituation people, my experiencers. They're all going through this stuff. It's just mind-boggling, And the guy up in Canada, David Allen, he's in that second book. 30 years of indoctrination by the Sasquatch with him and his father. 30 years, and he fought it forever. And it got almost violent or painful in some of the things he had to go through, because they were assigned to him to show him the way. He's up living there with the indigenous peoples up in the hinterlands in British Columbia, in the middle of nowhere, and he was just a party animal. He just wanted to have a good time. And anytime he'd get a clue or something or go bump in the night, he would just write it off as anything but what they wanted it to be. And so, but that's a whole nother show right in and of itself. He's 100 pages in this book, and it's just some of the stuff that he went through is just crazy. You've got this one, don't you?
Oh yeah, I got it right
Yeah.
here.
But the one that got me, and this is a nice tie-in. Okay, this log here. I led the expedition. This is 2019. I had 4 people. And this was right before COVID. The expedition was scheduled with another researcher, and he had to cancel at the last minute for some family problems or something. So they had to cancel the expedition. Well, these 4 people said, "You got my money. I don't want my money back. I want to go on an expedition." So they sent out an all points bulletin. Any researchers want to do an expedition in Illinois? That's only 350 miles away from me. I said, well, I've got a good buddy that lives there. My Sasquatch partner, Harold, lives in Murfreesboro. And so I said, I'll do it. What the heck? And so, long story short, there's only 4 people. Myself makes 5, and Harold was there. He makes 6 because he lives real close. So I went to the mom and pop cafes, because that's what I normally do when I'm scouting an area for an expedition. I go to the little mom and pop places where everybody and their mother meets, and everybody tells everybody stories, and everybody knows everybody. And that's how you find out, they all look at you when you walk in, because no, you're a stranger. You're a city slicker. You're not from here, are you? So I go in and I ask, I say, hey, I'm looking, they already knew who I was. I'm looking for a place that's kind of active for Sasquatch. Does anybody have any ideas? Well, not really, but I'll tell you a place you don't want to go. The Trail of Fears, there's some spooky stuff going on there. Nobody goes there after night. The baddest hunter in the town will not go there at night. There's some weird stuff going there. Nobody goes there. Well, thank you. That's where I'm going. That's like, you don't tell me that's where I can't go. That's where I don't want to go, because that's where I'm going. So there's a history with the Trail of Tears. That's where a lot of Native Americans died when they were doing the march from the Carolinas all the way across to the west. And so 94 Native Americans died at this spot that I picked. I didn't know that when I picked it, but I found out later. So anyway, we had a very successful expedition. We got about a half a dozen footprints, very nice footprints. So people were really happy with that. We had some activity. We went down at night, and Harold could not go with us because he's had a stroke and cancer, and so he can't do uneven terrain at all. And this was a downhill slope, just like my one in
the ravine.
Yeah. And so he stayed in his truck in the parking lot while I took the 4 expeditioners down. And we had, they were throwing little sticks and pebbles at us. They were following us. We're doing this deep ravine, and up on top, you could hear them walking along and watching us. And, bipedal walking, heavy footfall, snapping twigs, breaking branches, it's just plowing through the underbrush and all that. It's, dark at night and all that kind of stuff. So we had some really interesting activity. I could not get them to interact with us. That was the weird part. I could not get them to interact with us by, a grunt or whoop, do a whoop and have it return. They just would not communicate. Probably because they're not wondering who these crazy people are down here, because the humans know better than to be down here, because this is where weird stuff happens. So they're wondering who are these people. So probably they're kind of thinking there's something wrong with me. But anyway, we go down there. We had a nice event for the night. We went back home. We went back the next Saturday night. Harold stayed back at camp instead of in his truck because he was just trying to relax. And so I went with the people. Saturday night was the first day of hunting season, and it was October. So there was nothing going on. It was dead because there was gunfire. Yeah. Hunters were up in the trees and stuff all day. I went back there during the day to check on the prints, see if they dried and everything. There was hunters all over the place. So it was uneventful that night. But overall, it was very successful. So we went back home, and that was it, 2019. 2020 hit, and I started writing my books. And Harold and I decided, I want to go back, because that was really kind of a magical place. And the vibe there with the murder and mayhem that happened with the Native Americans added to the vibe, So we just wanted to go back and see if it still had the magic, because he lives there and he's going to go back if there is, some magic. So we went back, and we went back on the exact day, a year to the day of when we were there the last time, like an anniversary. And we went back and we walked down. He went as far as he could go. And we decided, this is cool. There's something here. This is here. This would be good for another adventure down here sometime. So I said, what I want to do? I want to leave a camera just in case. You know how trail cameras are. You never get anything on them, but if you don't leave one, you never will. Well, except for the gorilla, the Sasquatch finger there. So that one didn't get the memo apparently. You don't walk in front of a camera. So I put my camera by that log that's on this cover. I put my camera by the log, and so that way I could find it. And that log is actually where we stopped the year before on the night ops. We stopped there because they didn't want to go any further, because one of the women was kind of freaking out a little bit, with all the activity. And so we didn't go because I didn't want her running amok and, just panicking and running off, which she might have done. So anyway, I left my camera by this log. So we left there about 2:00 in the afternoon. It was October. It was COVID. There was nobody out. And by 5:30, it was getting dark. So there was nobody out. I mean, we saw 0 people. Of course, nobody goes to this particular area anyway, in which we never saw anybody there ever. I've been there 3 times. Never saw anybody there. Anyway, leave my camera. We go back, spend the night at camp, and I go back and grab my camera on the way back to Kansas City. And so I go back down there to get my camera, and I'm looking at that log. I'm going, where'd these rocks come from? I just, there's nobody out. Who would be putting these rocks here? And I was just looking at them. I was going, that's just weird. I mean, there's nobody out here. It's COVID. It's nasty and cold. And, I went, whoo, wait a minute. Wait. I looked at it. I get kind of misty eyed, because this was them communicating with me. That pointed rock is me. The 4 people behind it are the 4 expedition goers. On the other end of the log is a short, fat, round rock. That's Harold, because he's kind of a short, round guy. He was there, but wasn't there.
Yeah.
It was, and I could have just seen that and gone, well, maybe I just didn't see it yesterday, but that was not there. It was not there, and it is. And that pointed rock is what told me I'm the leader. I'm leading the expedition, and there's 4 rocks behind me. Those are the 4 people. I was going ape crazy, no pun intended. I was just, oh my God, I can't believe it. Oh shit, So I call my wife and I'm telling her, I said, and this is when the orb thing happened the night before. She said, well, what time did that happen? And I told her, well, I don't know exactly, but we left here about 2:00 and it got dark. So it had to have been probably sometime after dark. I mean, I don't know. Well, last night, before you went to bed, I was going to bed and an orb come flying into the bedroom. We've never had an orb in a house ever. It flew, and I told you that story about the orb.
Yep.
That was them going, I know where you live.
Gotcha.
And we're friends. We're friends now. And since 2019, I've started a list of all the weird things that are happening in our house. Voices, someone calling our name. I was watching TV with my wife one night. Something tapped me on my head 3 times. I'm sitting on the sofa with my wife. I said, did you do that? Do what? She's got her phone, she's got her fire, and we're watching TV. She's like media queen. She's gone. She's not even paying attention to anything. So I didn't do that. What are you talking about? I said, well, something just tapped me on the head. The next night we're watching TV. The TV goes off. On our coffee table is the remote. It jiggles just a little bit and the TV goes off. I can hear it kind of rattling on the wood. Somebody pushed the button and turned our TV off. Voices, knocks on the door. Someone pulled a pillow out from under my wife's head while she was sleeping one night. Something reached under my legs and was lifting me up and carrying me off to the side of the bed. All kinds of weird stuff. I've started this thing called Strangeness at Home. It's a Word document, 3 pages right now. All kinds of bizarre things. Lamp goes flying off a table, a little small, cheesy lamp from Vegas, and I'm just trying to think of all the things, but the voices, the electronics, knocks, something calling my name, Carter, just bizarre stuff. Yeah, and we hear this, and we've had about 25 incidents. They're communicating with me, and then like at night we'll get those. I get the vision where they're showing me where they live, and the kids are like chasing bugs, eating bugs. They're playing with sticks, digging in the dirt, and a couple of adults are just laying around. I mean, they're showing me like a day in the life. I get these things in my head. I'm not stoned. I'm not crazy, And we both meditate. We're type A's, and so we kind of meditate to get our heads calmed down because the day is always rattling around in your head. So as I get into that transitional, sleep mode, that's when I start seeing these things and they're coming at me. I'll see 4 or 5 faces. They're all kind of looking like they're all looking into a camera lens, and they're all squeezing in to look at each other and look at me, and they're all trying to squeeze into this one little space. Apparently it's like a portal or something where they all have to get in one spot to where they can see me. Just bizarre stuff, but it's happening, and I just accepted. I said, well, thanks. And I even asked them one time, this doesn't look like Missouri. Is this your home? And they said, home. This is home. What? Okay, cool. So that they're showing me like a day in the life. Bizarre? Yeah. But I've got people telling me the same things. My guy with the triangle with the 3 planets, all of that. He's seeing things. They're communicating with him. They're showing him something they want him to focus on. They're showing me where they live. A day in the life. I've had this happen probably somewhere in 7 to 10 times over 3 years. I mean, I've lost track of some of the things that, I could look it up, but I mean, some of the things that are going on. I can't remember some of them. Door opening and closing, tapping on a window, lights flickering. But some of that really sounds like poltergeist stuff. I mean, it does sound like poltergeist. But if they're in here in a spiritual form, that could be them. But it started in earnest when I had that relationship announcement with the rocks on that log. That's when it started. So wild. I have to deduce that is them. Just let me know we're here.
Good update, man. That's awesome.
It's just, and it sounds fantastical, and Jake's going, all right, get me out of here.
Yep.
Deciding which credit card or loan is right for you is like trying to choose where you want to eat for dinner. Except when you finally get to the restaurant, the menu's riddled with jargon that no average foodie could understand. So at Credit Karma, we keep things simple. We show you personalized recommendations that align with your money goals and help you turn the confusing fine print into terms you can actually understand. And as a cherry on top, we provide a detailed overview for a new card or loan before you apply. That way, we can help you make decisions faster and with more confidence. Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
Well, the problem is that, I haven't had, okay, so I always talk about that one camping trip I had up in Dinky Creek, California. I heard the tree knocks, right? They were all around us. It caused the drunks like maybe half a mile, or so away from us in these secluded campsites to all shut up when the knocks start happening. And then the yells, the really loud guttural screams and stuff.
Yeah.
They shut up, turned off their music. We heard a rifle shot, and that didn't do anything to deter what was going on around us. The next day, keep in mind that the whole area was super dusty. And I mean, because it was just bone dry up there, right? But there was a huge footprint behind my tent, and I sent Jeremy a picture of it. And sure enough, we had 6 kids with us, 10 and under. So over there looking for other footprints, but in the middle of where all of our tents are set up, they're just kicking up all the dirt and dust and stuff. There's nothing but little footprints over there. And then on the other side of the tent going further, it just went straight into woods, right? So we had this little clearing area. You kind of had to climb up in there with your vehicles. But it's just so I had those experiences. But other than that, I haven't seen anything. I haven't experienced anything, all woo-woo or anything like that. I mean, I'm not going to say that I don't believe it's possible. I'm just hoping that I know Jeremy never wants to have an experience with Bigfoot ever again because he watched it smash a deer head into a tree and then drag this screaming thing off into the woods. But I would like to have... It
wasn't screaming after that.
Well, it was screaming before that with its back broken, hanging over its shoulder, and then it grabbed it and just started smashing into a tree and then rolled out, right?
Yeah.
I know he says it all the time. He's like, I never want to see that sort of stuff again. Saw it once and changed my life. I'd like to see that because until I see it, I'm not going to really pursue any of the, extra type stuff.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Just want to see one straight up. But yeah, I mean, I've very much enjoyed listening to you. And,
yeah, it's just, and you said it perfectly. You said, well, you'll consider it. It's on the table. I mean, you at least go, well, people are having these experiences, and Jeremy's wasn't a paranormal thing, but at least they exist.
Right.
I mean, you believe so they're there. So at least that part's over with. So and you may you may see or hear something, not from me or from somebody else, some other book, some other video that pops up. You go, wow, okay, that's compelling. It makes you think. If you're a rational, intelligent person with somewhat of an open mind, even just a little bit, you go, I don't think that guy's full of crap. I don't think she's full of crap. But I can't relate to it because it hasn't happened to me. But once it does, it's all over.
Right.
It just takes one thing, and it happened to me multiple times. And it was just like I was baptized by fire. I had to see that. Yeah. They wanted me to see it. Or I just happened to be the random guy that did see it, and I could have been an aper and just decided, well, this damn camera, because when I saw that one disappear when I was watching it on thermal, I wasn't stoned, wasn't high, drinking. My camera, I have the top of the line FLIR equipment, so it's a thermal camera. It's working, and it's like a flashbulb. It exploded. In fact, when I pulled the camera away, I was just going,
Right.
Good God, And so, but it will take something like that for you to consider things, because until I can tell you all day long, Jeremy can tell you, anybody else could tell you all day long, like we've been doing all night, all these fantastical events. But until it happens to you, and you're probably a very methodical guy, and so you have to show it to me. I want to show it. My logical mind will comprehend it and decide if that could be something else or that's the real thing. And so until that happens, but at least you have an open mind, and you're sitting here listening to all this, and you may say bad things about me when we hang up.
No, he's along for the ride, man.
What was actually really cool is that after Jeremy and I had you on talking about your Enigma 2 book, and you had all the different pictures in there of like the X's and the tree branches and stuff, and the hoops and stuff. I actually went out to Jeremy's house in Wisconsin because I was considering moving out there, like after I get out of the Navy here in about 6 months. Plans fell through, but I hung out with him for a week, and his mom lives on, was it 38, 40 acres?
Something along those. It's a big property.
Big spot. There's like there's apple trees that are planted right next to her house, and they're actually totally ripe when we were there, kind of towards the end, because there was only a few of them left on the tree or whatever. And they always get deer over there eating all the apples that have fallen and everything. But he and I went back there and explored, and we actually took like probably 10 minutes of video on my cell phone, because after reading your book and seeing all the different examples of things to look for, it was filled with that crap. I mean, I'm talking about saplings that are probably 30 feet tall, but they're completely bent over, and their tops are stuck into the ground.
Yeah, it's stuck. Like they're driven into the ground.
Yeah.
They're wedged underneath something, and you start to think, well, maybe it grew like that, and then you just, yank it and it just springs up, right? Or, we're looking at it and we're like, okay, here's the bend point. How much weight has to go into this thing to bend it down? Is it enough for a tree branch to fall? Because I mean, there was tons of that too, right? There was like this big tree fell, and it broke apart into sections. And then this one is just pinning down the sapling. But then there's other areas where it's like, well, there's nothing fallen around this. There's nothing pinning it down. The end of this tree is literally stuck into the ground. And this is also an area where I don't figure there'd be a lot of trespassers. For one, it's kind of out there. And for two, they got really good gun rights. So I'm just like, I don't think there'd be a lot of trespassing, a lot of goofing off and stuff. But we had, 10 minutes of just, I think we probably had in the ballpark of maybe 20 different examples of like hooped trees, X's, areas where, all right, there's a big tree branch that snapped off up here. Now let's find the evidence of another tree falling on it. There's nothing around to show that actually happened. And this is a very green tree, right? And so we had a lot of those sorts of situations. So even having that sort of experience and being like, wow, there's a lot more to this than we're thinking. And, this would be a really good area for that, because there are some very dense, secluded woods around there, with good waterways, that sort of stuff, and a lot of natural, vegetation for, like, even we could eat like apple trees and berry bushes and all that sort of stuff, right? A lot of deer, a lot of wildlife. And so we're just looking at it and we're like, and they get black bear all the time. They had one trying to break into their McDonald's in their town. It was crazy. It was all over the Facebook page for that town. But yeah, so being able to see all that stuff and then have that experience, so that just made me more encouraged that, eventually, especially now I live in California, my wife and I got a camper trailer because we want to go and get those family camping trips before we get kids in the mix. So it can be a active thing, like, hey, let's take our every 6 months or every quarter type trip, and, get the kids off the screens and into the woods to go hang out and have fun. But we've been exploring that stuff. We're about to go on a hiking trip this weekend. into some like waterfall type areas. But it's just like getting ourselves out there for the possibility. You know, I also want to spend time with Whitney, my wife, but also for the possibility that, you know, all these sightings that happen all over California, it'd be really cool if I ran into one. And I'll tell you what, if by chance I had my phone out and I was taking a video, I don't think people realize that if you're not expecting something like that, it would be the same thing if you weren't expecting a mountain lion to jump out of a tree in front of you. The likelihood you're going to have a perfectly still camera and not shaking because the adrenaline going through you is, you know, is ridiculous. So
Yeah.
I could probably take a video if I was lucky enough, or if I had my Insta360 camera or something like that. But I couldn't tell you that on its little boomstick, I wouldn't be just shaking like a leaf, you know, or like a sapling in a hurricane, just, you know, freaking out.
Part of you wants to run and part of you doesn't.
Right.
You know?
So yeah, I mean, but I'm open to have an experience, and I loved being on this episode. I know people kind of give us crap sometimes, like, oh, why was the other person on there if they didn't say anything? It's like, well, I just like listening and having the opportunity to engage if I want to, you know?
Yeah, we're just absorbing it, you know, and that's the cool thing. So, you know, and you know, if you're in an area where you know they're there, or you've heard that they've been there, they'll come to you. If you and Whitney just sit around the campfire at night, have a couple of beers and cook a couple of hot dogs, and they'll come to you. You know, you can, you know, mentally talk to them, say, if there's a Sasquatch here, can you give me a sign? And, you know, I don't think they really react really well to if you're out there whooping and banging on trees and stuff. And you're just respectful of their area and where they live.
Gotta love that shit.
I want to experience you. That's what I do. I don't do that anymore unless I'm returning a call. If I get a knock, I'll return it to let them know in case they were communicating with me versus another member of their group or clan. So, but you know, if you just sit and enjoy the night, enjoy the company of your spouse, and just, you know, the woods and the smells and all that, and just, if they're there, you may hear a twig snap, you may hear a snort or a grunt. You know, I mean, you just don't know. But it's as easy to have an experience if you wait for them to come to you as if you go out looking. But seeing all those structures and things, when they're driven in the ground, even snow weight does not do that. That is an intentional act. You know, having, you know, 40, 50 pounds of snow on a tree where it's just bent over, you know, you see that a lot. You know, but that's usually a really big tree. But they're driven into the ground. The only other thing that I've seen quite often is that they'll use a log to pin it down when they don't drive it into the ground.
Right.
And we saw that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
We saw that a lot in relation to it was not from a nearby fallen tree.
Yes.
So we saw ones where it was like, okay, this tree fell and it snagged all these little ones in the way and it's pinned them. But we saw ones where it's like, this log looks like it went to that tree, but there's no way that there's a 50-foot or 100-foot gap between all these sections and then this portion of it.
Yeah, how did the base of this tree get 50 feet away from where it snapped? Right. And it's the part of the tree that's up in the air.
Yeah.
You know, how
opposable thumbs is your only that's your only answer, is opposable thumbs.
And some fucking crazy upper body strength.
Yeah, they're lifting some of these things. Some of them are, you know, 100+ pounds. You know, they're dense wood. You know.
Yeah, and in the first book, I've got all those structures and stuff, and some of them are so complex. I mean, they're not structures; they're art. And like I've said before, the stuff that's woven and interwoven,
right?
That'll never happen. Now, you could take five pool cues or 5 yardsticks and throw them up in the air. How many times will you do that before they will land into an interwoven pattern? You'll die before that ever happens. They're made,
right?
You know, and they're woven. And when you've got the different species of trees, you know, you've got an aspen, a birch, a cedar tree right here, and you've got this really intricate woven structure that has an oak tree and a couple of weeping willows in it. Where'd that come from? Well, there's a tree over there, like you were talking about. There's one over there, but that had to have been carried over because there's nothing here. It doesn't fall and bounce 50 feet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's made for a reason. You know, it's just, you know, they're communicating to each other under our nose. They're communicating with these structures. What they mean, we don't know exactly. You know, the trees driven in the ground upside down with the root balls up in the air, that's a serious warning. You stay away. This is our area. You know, that if you ever see something like that, that is a serious warning. Don't come over here. Not going to hurt you, but this is like our clan. Maybe the two clans don't get along real well. This is our area. So, you know, but see, you're observing things like that. So, you know, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Just how real it is, we don't know. You know, I'm telling you all these stories that people are calling me with. I've got 3 calls to make tomorrow. Call somebody back with, you know, another crazy story. Well, it's not crazy, you know.
Right.
Wow. You know, that's what a lot of these people, they don't want to be known as the crazy Bigfoot people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing. There's a stigma to being labeled a nutcase. You're seeing these things that can't possibly happen, you know. Well, it is happening. And so, you know, if you met some of the people, I mean, you would know as soon as you sat down and talked to these people how sincere they are, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them have missing time. Some of them see craft flying over their property right before or after a Sasquatch event. Not all the time, but just every now and then.
Yeah.
We had a guy in New England state, 6 hours of missing time with a Sasquatch event. 6 hours.
You've man, what's his name?
That's a long time.
Look at that library over there.
Oh, I have quite the book collection. I'm looking for a book right now, but it's not in my Bigfoot section. Oh, it's right here. Stan Gordon. You read Stan Gordon?
Yeah.
He's got a lot of. I have this Silent Invasion.
It's a great book. That's an awesome book.
Oh man, there's some wild.
It's a Bible.
In here.
It's the Bible.
It's some wild shit in here. For anybody listening to Stan Gordon's Silent Invasion, but buy Carter's book first.
Yeah.
Buy him. Sure. Yeah, but you know, my guy up in the New England states, he is a very successful business owner. He owns a computer company. He makes software, and he manufactures and makes parts for computers. You know, but they're really upper end stuff. And he goes and lives in the woods on 100 acres or so in the middle of nowhere because he wants to get away from the crazy rat race world. And he had a Sasquatch event one night. I won't bore you with it. We're running out of time, I think. But anyway, he barricaded himself in his very expensive guard dog that was not doing any guarding whatsoever. You know,
well, he's next to an alpha predator.
That dog was snapped off. We decided that dog had been turned off because it was a very expensive, like $5,000 just in training for this German Shepherd.
Oh yeah. Where he has to say German commands to it to get it to listen. That sort of training.
He has safe words, kill words, and all this stuff. That dog was just staring, and it was leaning up against his leg like he wasn't himself. He was snapped off. Mm-hmm. And the Sasquatch was walking toward him as all the workers were going home one night. It was walking toward him. And so him and the dog haul asked him to go hide in the travel trailer that he's living in while they're working on remodeling his house and adding on half of a house. Mm-hmm. And so he runs and barricades himself and the dog in this travel trailer. And it's about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And he sees a Sasquatch walking around the trailer, kind of looking in the window and rattling the door and just looking in. And he's going, "Oh my God, I didn't bring my gun. What am I going to do?" So he goes into the kitchen, finds a butcher knife. You know? So him and the dog go barricade themselves in the bathroom on a 30-foot travel trailer. You know how big that bathroom is? It's about 3 by 3. You know? He's standing like this with a knife in his hand, pointed at the door. "If you're coming in to eat me, I'm going to do what I can. I'll kill you." And the dog is just sitting there doing nothing. It's like leaning up against him. It's almost asleep with his eyes open.
Right.
He wakes up at 5:30 in the morning. This was about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. 6 hours later, he wakes up to the sound of the workers coming back to work on the house the next day. He's still like this. 6 hours later, he's still like the same position he was in 6 hours earlier. But he's completely refreshed. He's not tight or tense like he'd been sitting there all night like that. But again, 6 hours to him versus Sasquatch time, if it was Sasquatch, is an entirely different thing, you know. And so he had no explanation. He didn't even want to know. He has the wherewithal to be regressed hypnotically. He says, and this was a quote, he says, I don't want to find out I had a Travis Walton moment. I don't want to know.
Whew.
I'm happy to not know that. I don't want to know. Maybe later, but I have a wife, a newborn baby, and one on the way. I don't want to complicate my life by trying to figure that out. It happened. He told me the story, and it's, you know, he said, I just don't want to know. You know, I've been hypnotically regressed. You can get stuff out. You know, if you've had an event, you want to know. If you're one of these people that can't be hypnotized, well, that's too bad. But most people can be. And so my wife can't be hypnotized, but I went under anyway. So what do you do with something like that? This guy's an upper tier executive. He's got $1 million company he's running, and he just doesn't want to. It happened to him, but he just doesn't want to know what happened, other than the part he remembers physically seeing it coming at him. And it wasn't running after him. It wasn't doing this. It was just walking at him. It was coming straight at him, just walking in a leisurely way. And the dog was getting his commands. And the dog was sitting there doing nothing. Like it was switched off. So that kind of stuff, you know, it's happening all across America and all around the world, and people just aren't talking about it because there's too much of a stigma, you know.
Sure, yeah.
And I'm trying to get these stories out so more people will read them, and more, you know. That was a cool book. You know, didn't Grandpa have a story like that? Remember, he used to tell us that story. He quit talking about it, and he passed away. And somewhere right now, somebody you know is having or just had an experience, and they're not going to tell anybody. Or both of you guys know somebody. You just don't know it, you know, because nobody wants to talk about this stuff. It's a dirty little secret.
I know a bunch of woods people. So yeah, probably.
But, you know, but it is bizarre stuff, you know, and if it's never happened to you, it's hard to wrap your head around it. Even if you have an open mind, you know, I just don't know if I can do that. But, you know, it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
All right, Carter. It's been a pleasure, man. We got to start wrapping her up.
I'm sorry. See, I'm a talker, man.
No, it's perfect.
You're easy to interview.
We're gonna do the same thing we did last time. We're gonna cut this into 2 episodes, so you're gonna get 2 more out of us here. No, it's been great.
I'd love to come back whenever.
Yeah,
you know.
We'll be in touch. In fact, I want to talk to you a little bit after the recording. So hang by.
Yeah.
But Zencastr unfortunately limits us at 2 hours. So
yeah, sure.
Before it kicks us off and we're unable to do our outro and everything. Before we do that though, Carter, where can everybody follow you, buy your books? Where can they contact you if they have anything that they would like to pass on to you? Yeah.
My website is sqexplorer.com. Pretty original, just sqexplorer.com. www.sqexplorer.com. My email is sqexplorer@gmail.com.
Easy.
Again, very creative.
Sasquatch.
I've got 3 books for sale. I'm self-published, so you can buy the Kindle versions on Amazon, but I don't. My books would be way too expensive because they're full color and all that. And so Amazon would sell them for probably almost double what I'm charging for them. So, but I'm self-published. I do all my own work and everything. I have a printer that prints them for me. But they're very nice books. So you can go to my website and you can order them off the website. If you want to buy all 3, I'll give you a special price. Just contact me with the email. Also, if you go to the media section on my webpage, there's 50 or 60 of my most favorite podcasts. And I know your 2 are on there. But there's podcasts on there. You can just peel them off and cut and paste them and put them on your desktop and listen to them whenever you want. We've got a bunch, but a bunch of them. I'm doing 4 this week. I do about 60 or so every year podcasts. I love doing them. So that's how you can get a hold of me. And I respond to everybody. If you call me, email me, I'm all over it.
Yeah.
You don't not hear from me. I'm quite hands-on with all that stuff. So,
well, That's awesome. I am also going to check out some of that stuff on the website as well. I can endorse Carter. I have all 3 of his books right here. All 3 of them right here.
Thank you, sir.
And they are fantastic. This last one, Evidence of an Enigma 3, this book is thick. I mean, thick.
Yeah.
And you're getting quite a lot for what you pay. And I bought these books directly from Carter, and I would highly recommend that you guys do so too, because the pictures. Every one of his books is full of pictures of everything he's talking about. So it's not like one of those things where you're reading a book and you're like, man, I'm visualizing it. But in these books, you can see it.
Yeah.
They're there. The evidence is there. All the evidence he's talking about is right there, right in your hands. Perfect. Yeah. Wonderful stuff. Yeah. And I really like something else, Carter. I like how you take the words from the people who come to you and you use those in your books. I love that. I love hearing it coming out of the reporting person's voice. And then you have your responses in there, which is just fantastic.
Great thanks. Stuff. No, it works. And, and they write the book for me because I want it in their words. I don't want to say, well, I saw a Sasquatch Thursday night. So that I have to take that one sentence and turn it into 2 pages.
Right.
Where they're telling me and their emotion is in it. So that's what I want, is the emotion and the sensitivity and the effect that it has on them and their family. That's why I tell them, just send me a 5-page email. I'll make it, just send me stuff. You can't flood me.
Right. So, and then right after that, you have Carter's breakdown of what they're talking about. And he kind of makes some connection with some dots that you may not have really thought about. And it's just awesome stuff.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
No, I will buy every book that you ever put out, sir. I'll just let you know that right now.
I'm going to start 14 books tomorrow then.
That's fine. And I will buy 14 books when they come out. Jake, you got anything before we head out, man?
No, thank you for coming on and blowing our minds once again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and like I said, it's crazy. I don't want to use that word to describe my people. It's off the charts. Yeah. It's totally Star Trek, dystopian, bizarre. It's just like, this can't be happening, but it really, really is. It's just nobody. It's a dirty little secret nobody wants to talk about.
And if you guys like the stories that he talked about on this episode and the previous one, because we're going to cut this into 2, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Trust me, there's a lot more content in these books that you guys need to know about. Last call, everybody. Anybody?
I'm good.
All right. Well, that has been another episode of the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy, and we'll see you in the next path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You got to say bye, Carter.
Bye.
There it is.
Bye.
I would like to thank you once again for tuning into the Infinite Rabbit Hole podcast. Please make sure to give us a follow and one of those beautiful 5-star ratings on your podcast player of choice. If you would like to join the conversation and stay up to date on all things Infinite Rabbit Hole, head on over to Facebook and search for the Infinite Rabbit Hole Facebook group. You'll know it's us when you see the logo. If you would like to help contribute to the cause, there are a few ways to do so. First, head on over to anchor.fm/Infinite Rabbit Hole and click on the subscribe button, where for $5 a month you'll get access to all our old episodes that will never see the free spotlight ever again. It's horrible stuff, but if you're into that kind of thing, then go check it out. Second, head on over to InfiniteRabbitHole.com and click on the IRH merch shop tab and grab yourself a sweet t-shirt, sticker, or whatever else you see that you wouldn't mind owning. Until next time, travelers, I'm Jeremy, and I'll see you at the next fork in the path of the Infinite Rabbit Hole.